Hi, this is Sherry. Welcome to my journey in clay. Today we're going to be making a lantern. The tools that we'll need are minimal. I have a rolling pin. I have a metal rib to smooth the clay with, a cutting tool. I have a couple here, but whatever you normally use to cut your clay with. A scratcher when we need to attach the two pieces, something to score it with. I have this tool. You don't have to have this. This is a tool that will cut a 45-degree angle. You don't have to have that. You can just use your cutting tool. I have some slip here of the same color of the clay that we're going to use. I also have some vinegar. Depending on what I'm attaching, sometimes I'll use the slip, sometimes I'll use the vinegar. And other than that, I have a spray bottle of water in case my pieces start to dry out too much. Then I have clay that I have rolled out to 1/4 inch. The clay that I have has been rolled out, but I haven't done anything else. I have some pattern pieces here, which I will attach as a PDF down in the description. Basically, it's pretty standard. It's 4 sides, a bottom, and a roof, and then whatever embellishments you decide to use for yours. The ones that I'm going to use today may not be the ones that you want to do, but the process is all the same. So I have clay, which is already, as I said, already been rolled out, but that's all that I've done. So about 1/4 inch thick. And I will go ahead and adjust the camera so you can see everything I'm doing. I'm going to take my first piece of clay here, and the thickness looks pretty good. What I want to do is give it some texture. So I have a piece of material here that I like to use for texture. You can use lace, you can use all sorts of things, but I'm going to start with this, and then I'm going to gently roll. I don't have to worry too much about distorting it because I haven't cut my pattern piece out yet. So I'm going to press it fairly hard. You can sort of gauge this when you're doing it. You want to make sure that you get an impression, but you don't want to smash your clay too thin. So here I have my texture. I'm going to go ahead and lift this up so that it doesn't stick. Take my first pattern piece. There is no front or back to this particular one. Make sure my tool has not got any clay bits on it. Then I'm going to cut. Now when I cut this, I think I've mentioned this in other videos, but just a little reminder, you want to try to cut straight down so that you're cutting perpendicular with your lines, not slanted this way, not slanted that way. It's easy to lose track of that when you're cutting. So just try to keep it straight up and down. It's not really a big deal, but the more precise you can be, then the better the pattern will fit when you go to put it together. Set my little bits over there, my extra bits. Notice also that I'm keeping my hand on this pattern piece. That's just so it doesn't move around. I've had that happen before, so now I try to do that. Now here in this bottom piece, I have it cut, but like with a little circle here. I can do that because it's already marked. What I've done in the past also though is I've taken a round cutter to make sure that it's more precise. Actually, I'm going to do that because might as well show you how that works too. So I'm going to get one of my circle cutters over here. Get a bunch of them because I don't remember what size it was. This does not look like it. There we go. So this was it. Again, you don't have to do this. You can just cut around here, but There we go. And then I'm just going to wiggle it a little, take it out. So here we have our first piece. And what I'm going to do now is I'm going to get my other pieces and I'm going to cut 4 of these. I'm going to set this aside on a separate board because you can see how floppy this is. Honestly, I probably could have waited a little bit longer before I started cutting too. But since it is so floppy, we definitely need to let it dry for a little bit more before we start working with it. Here are our 4 walls all cut out, ready to go. As I said, they're just a little too soft, so we're going to let them get a little bit firmer, and in the meantime, we'll go ahead and cut our roof pieces. Now that we're going to do our roof pieces, it's going to be a little bit different. I have a larger piece of clay here. I have some more rolled out also, but we're going to start with this, see if our pattern pieces will fit. I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to rib both sides actually on this one. So for the roof on this one, this is the pattern piece that we're going to use. Going to start here, cut them one at a time. We're going to need, actually this feels a little thick. Have to see how this works out. Okay. Oh, it's good. Okay. Let me gently get this picked up. All right, so we have our one piece, going to set it aside. See how many more we can get out of here. I try not to get the edges of the pattern piece too close to the edge of the clay because I find that frequently, because I roll it by hand, a lot of times it is just a little bit thinner around the edge and I don't want it to be different. So I'm going to turn it this way instead. Again, set it aside. Got 2 more to do here. We have our 4 pieces now. When we did our lantern sides, we did the texture first. But in this case, we're doing the texture after we have the pieces cut. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to do a tin roof. I'm going to use this plaster mold. So first I'll show you how it's going to look and then I'll tell you what else you can do. So I'm going to turn it this way. I did smooth both sides, but the top side is the last one I smooth. So I'm going to place this on my mold. If you do use a press mold, which you probably don't have one like this, but if you have another type, you want to start at the edges pressing to keep it from getting distorted. So in this case, I'm going to go from the edges inward, press down enough to know that I've got a good impression. Gently lift it up, and there's my piece. Now, as I said, most of you are not going to have a tin roof press mold hanging around, so you can do something else. If you want to try to get a tin roof type look, you can, there's a couple different ways you could do it. Whatever tool you have around, you could take a ruler maybe and, you know, make some lines on your piece, like so. And that mimics it pretty well. I got this round piece. I don't know if that'll work or not. Let me see. Yeah, that works too. So you can use another type of tool to make your own impression for a tin roof, or as I said, you can just use something completely different, or honestly, you could just keep it smooth if that's what you wanted to do. So I will go ahead and press my other 3 pieces here. I'm going to set them aside with the other 4 pieces to dry a little bit, and then we will cut the bottom piece. So we're ready to cut the bottom piece. Actually, this is the most simple one. I will go ahead and rib each side to make it smooth. This has just a little bit of light colored clay on it from the cloth, but that won't hurt anything. So the last piece is the bottom. Again, make sure there's no dried up clay on your cutting tool. Okay, I'm going to set all these pieces aside, let them firm up a little bit. It is a very hot and humid day here today in Maryland, so it seems to be taking longer than usual for the clay to dry. So it'll be a couple hours, but it won't be a couple hours to you. It'll be right back. I've had my pieces all cut as of yesterday. I have them on a board with paper in between the pieces, and they were wrapped up in plastic trash bag. So what we're going to start with today is making our cutouts on our side pieces. So I'm taking this piece here, which I haven't cut yet, and I already did one of these off camera because I kind of wanted to get an idea of what I was doing and think about it. So now that I have this one done, I want to make sure that the ones that need to be the same are going to be the same. So what I do is I sort of match them up here, and I started with this square. Now this design can be anything that you want it to be. I have some cutout tools that make it easier to make certain shapes, but you can use what you have on hand. This is a square cutter that I use sometimes, so I'm going to take this, and I could measure it, but I think I can sort of eyeball it here and make it the same, make sure it's in the center, because I want this one piece, for my idea for this piece is, I want to make this a little bit like a window, and I'm going to have a face in the window. That's my thought. So we'll see how that works. So we have this piece. Now I have these cutouts of different shapes. I've got a little bit of hard clay in here. Again, you can use what you have on hand. The idea here is that the light, when you finish your lantern, that the light will be shining through this. So I have these, and I feel like, all right, so the bottom is going to be right about here when we put the bottom in, because it's going to be above this rounded piece. So the bottom will be here, and then the candle will be here So I kind of want to make sure, I don't need my cutouts too low, and I want to make sure that I have enough up higher. So that's my thought process on the placement here. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to look at this one, and I'm going to make sure that I use the same cutouts. This is our last piece. This is our fourth piece. And this piece we're going to do a little bit differently. The lantern has 4 sides when it's all put together. But in one of the sides, I want a place where where it has a large opening so that I can, when it's assembled and fired, that you can put a candle inside of it. So we need a large opening here. So we could still have this top part if we want, but we definitely need a larger opening here. So in this case, what I've decided to do is do this top cutout the same, but now I'm going to make a bottom cutout. Now I have a square cutout here. It's really not going to be quite large enough for me to make an opening for a candle. So, but I'm going to start with this. I went up maybe, let's see how far that is, maybe 3/4 of an inch from this bottom piece. We have this rounded piece here, so our bottom is going to fit right in here, and then we'll have a little bit of a coil to join it. So I want to come up maybe about 1/2 to 3/4 inch up. Since I have this square cutter, I'm going to start with this. Go ahead and make this cutout. You know, if you've done stuff out of clay before and fired it and then found it just shrank more than you thought it was going to, it's a disappointing feeling. So now we have all 4 pieces cut out. We're ready for the next step. Our next step, before, I'm going to put some extrusions around here, but before we do that, I want to flip each side over and bevel it to get it ready to join. I'm just going to move these. These are hard enough now, they can stack on each other. Now I'm going to use a tool that I have that cuts a 45-degree angle. If you don't have that, then you can just take your cutting tool and cut down. I'm going to do this for each side where it's going to be joined. Now for me, I don't seem to be able to do this properly. When I use this hand and go down this side, I don't know, somehow I always mess up. So I flip my piece upside down so that I can do it from the right hand side. Again, that's just me. I've just found for me that's what works. So I'm going to do this, then I'm going to scratch along each side. I'm also going to scratch right at the bottom here because this is where our bottom piece is going to go. Let me go ahead and scratch that while I have my scratching tool out. So I'm going to bevel each side, scratch each side, scratch where the bottom's going to go. I'm going to do that for each piece. I've decided to do extrusions around these windows. So I have my clay gun here. Put a link in the description on where you can buy these clay guns. You can buy them, I've mentioned before, at hobby store like Michael's or whatever else you might have in your area. They usually have a little section for these, or I'm sure they're on Amazon also. So I have a square cutout. I sprayed a little water in here because it was a little dry. So we'll see. I'm going to do a couple of these and then set them out and cut them. I just roll a coil, making sure that it's thin enough. I try not to let it get too loopy. I'm going to fix this camera a little bit so you can get a little more centered. All right, so what I'll do here, I'll take this long piece. You don't always have to scratch this because this clay is really pretty soft, but it never hurts. It never hurts. So this is where I'll attach it. I'm going to cut one piece that I know is plenty big enough. And I'm going to get my jar of slip that I have here. And paint it on where I'm going to apply the extrusions. Can you see this? There we go. It looks a little lighter, but that's just because it's wet. Take my first piece, just set it on the top here. Actually, that's not too much too big. It's over the sides here, but that's a good thing. Show a little closer. Because I'm going to put one on each side. Now this I will have to trim, but I'm just going to put it up here. You want to avoid stretching the piece. You want to try to compress it as much as possible because that will help keep it from shrinking away or breaking. I'm going to cut it at the bottom here. I'm going to push it up towards here. Gently sort of push it up. Cut right here at the bottom. And then I'm ready for my bottom piece. I will cut this one a little bit too long. So I want to make sure it's about the same size as the top. And I'll trim it over here. Then I just sort of gently press down to make sure everything is attached well. So this is the one piece that I have. I have the outline of the window. I might make a couple little impressions on the frame, just, I don't know, we'll see how it goes. I'm going to do the same thing for these other 3 windows. I set aside two of my pieces so that I can have room here to show you what I'm doing. So to start off, first we're going to take one of our pieces and do our slip. When you're doing your slip or doing, getting ready to attach, pay careful attention to the edges because that's where it's going to have a tendency to come apart. So we're just going to start with these two pieces and very carefully join two of them. Show you the inside here. So we're doing this, keeping it square and just gently pushing together the edges. Then I'm going to take my my finger and go up the side here. Same thing down this other side. Be careful of not to knock any of your extrusions. I almost just did that. Now before we start to coil this, actually I could coil a part of it, but this piece here is our bottom piece. Now I'm going to go ahead and score this, but we're going to end up cutting it because I make this piece just a little bit bigger so that it doesn't, so that I don't end up with it too small. So I can see that I have it joined here. Now when I put this other piece here, do that again. It's just a tad too big, like maybe 1/8 of an inch. Same on this side. So I'm going to take this piece and I'm just going to trim it very slightly. On this side. And then on this side. Okay, and then I'm going to go ahead and scratch these. All right. I'm going to set this aside a minute. Get some soft clay. I'm going to go ahead and put some slip down the inside here, and what I'll do is I'll go ahead and coil down to where that bottom piece is going to be. Okay, so I'll go right about here because we can finish that up. I'm just using my tool and pressing this in. I'm not going to finish it yet. I'm going to go ahead and get this. I'm going to get this third piece and then this piece in. So actually, I take that back. I think that I will go ahead and I'll do this because it's easier to do now than it will be once I get that third piece in. So I'm just going to take my tool. You can use your hands if you don't have a tool, but I like to use the tool first and then my fingers because the tool really pushes it. I'm going to go around the outside one more time, and then I'm going to use my fingers and smooth this out. Okay, And we're going to get our third piece, and then we're going to put our bottom in here. So here's the third piece, and what I'll do is I'll gently hold it, put the slip on this side. Again, being careful on the bottoms. I'll go ahead and slip both pieces this time. And very carefully line this up and go gently up the entire piece, pushing together. Then I'll sort of check this to make sure we have a square, and smooth this a little bit. I'm going to smooth this some more. I'm just doing a little bit right now. Take my tool and compress a little bit there. I'll do the same thing and just do a little bit of a coil here, right about down to where the bottom piece is going to be. What I usually try to do is take the tool and go up one side, and then take the tool and go up the other side. And use my fingers. And gently, gently smooth it without pushing too hard. This is where you want to make sure the coils that you're using should be nice and soft. You really won't see this inside, but I still like to get it as smooth as possible. Okay, so now we're ready to put our bottom in before we put our fourth piece in. So for this, what I'll do is I've already scratched, as you remember, I scratched the pieces in here. I'm going to go ahead and put slip on 3 sides. And I'm just going to slip this in here. This is basically how we're going to do it. I'm going to turn it around though so I can take a look and make sure I've got it straight. Okay, if you can see inside there, I've got this piece in here. And now what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and finish coiling what I can before I put this fourth piece on. All right, our bottom piece is in, our 3 sides are in. Now I'm going to put the 4th side on, but before I do that, I'm going to take this and carefully turn it upside down. And I'm just going to take a look at the bottom of this. We're going to do this again because we need to make sure that these seams here stay secure. But I just want to take a look and make sure that it looks level because, I just want to make sure that it's level. And it looks pretty good. But I want to do that before I attach this fourth piece because once I put the fourth piece on, we won't be able to do that. So I'm going to flip it back over. These insides are pretty smooth. I'm going to take my last piece here. It's already well scored. Going to put slip on this too. And in this case, I'm going to put some down on the bottom because we'll be attaching the bottom piece too. Okay, so just gently go down and push these pieces together a little bit more. And we'll see how much we can get inside of here. I don't know, but remember I said I wanted to put some people in the window, so I want to do that before I do anything else. So in this case, now this won't be most likely what you'll do. We all have different ideas about what we want to do. So what I want to do is I want to put these little faces. I want to put one in each window. So I'm going to score the bottom of the face. I didn't want to do this before I attached it because it's not it'll only have one point of attachment, so it's not super secure. Once it's fired and glazed and everything, it'll be fine. But in the meantime, I just want to be careful. So I've scratched the bottom here and scratched and slipped this, and then I'm just going to put my little face in here. So this is what it'll look like. Oh, that's kind of a funny angle. Let me show you this from another angle. There we go. So I'm going to do this on each of the sides and then get back to you. I have my sides all attached. I have my little man in the window, in each window. And now this is kind of an important part of it. What we want to do is, well, first of all, I'm going to hope that everything stays together while I flip this over, but this is an important piece of this. We're going to gently flip it over. Now, these four corners are where it has, once it starts drying, and even sometimes it looks okay after it's dried, but then I go to fire it and it happens. They have a tendency to pull apart, these corners do. So I want to make sure that they are really well attached. So I'm going to go over each corner while it's upside down like this because it's harder to get when it's against the table. I'm going to do that and go to each corner, maybe smooth this out a little bit, Make sure that it's really well attached. And then I'm also going to, in each of these 4 corners, I'm going to put an extra little piece of clay to just help stabilize it and make sure that it doesn't come apart at the seam there. So I'm just going to take a ball of clay, or a wad. It's not really a round ball, just a wad of clay, really. Hold this, and while I'm holding this together, I push it in there after I've put the slip on. So you can, I don't usually smooth this out, I just kind of leave it kind of rough. I guess I could smooth it a little bit here. Yeah, that looks better smooth, doesn't it? Okay. So there we go. So I'm going to do that on each of these 4 corners. I know I already put slip, but I'm going to do it again just to make sure that everything is secure. We're ready to put the roof on. I know this angle is a little bit far away, but this is pretty basic, so I think we'll be okay. So what we have is we have our 4 pieces that we have made a design on, in this case similar to a tin roof. So we're going to take each of these 4 pieces, turn them right side down, and we could use our 45-degree angle to make that cut. Make sure that you have them so that you're just cutting the sides and not the bottom. So just, actually I think I'm going to use a knife for this because these are small. I think that's what I'm going to do here. Okay, these are all done. We're going to scratch them each side, and then we're going to put the roof together and then attach it to our lantern. Now, before you do that, you do want to make sure that you've coiled all your inside. Now, I did not do the coiling of the 4th piece that I put in here. I didn't do that coiling on camera. I did it off camera. It is a little bit difficult because you really, it's difficult to reach your hand all the way down in there without messing it up. So I'm not as careful with that last piece as far as the coiling is concerned. I put some clay down in there, and then I just do what I can to get it attached. So onto the roof. So for the roof, basically we're just going to attach these 4 pieces and then scratch and get them onto the lantern. So I put slip on 2 sides here. Then I'm just going to gently put these 2 pieces together. Then I'm going to take this piece, do the same. And then take our last piece. I think actually there's slip on both of these, so this is fairly soft. We can probably just attach it here. The last piece is the trickiest. Okay. All right, now this needs more pressing and pushing, but this is basically what we have here, our roof. So I'm going to go around each of these and compress and then go on the inside and do a little bit of a coil. Okay, I'm going to set this aside a moment. So we have our roof piece. What I've done is, you can see it looks a bit sloppy in there, but that's because I didn't smooth it out a whole lot. What you want to be sure of is that at these tips, you want that to be smooth, and that's where you want to make sure that you have some clay, because that's where it's going to have a tendency to come apart. So we're going to place this on our lantern and see how it looks, see if we have gotten it even, which it looks good to me. One little side over here needs some smoothing. Okay. And then what we will do is we will scratch this entire top all along. And we're not going to scratch the top piece yet. What we're going to do is we're going to put some slip on here. And then we're going to kind of set our piece on here, getting it kind of even and how we want it. And then pick it up and look and see where those marks are. And where those marks are from the slip, that's where you want to scratch. And what you may want to do is, and I would actually suggest it, where you have the scratch marks, go ahead and put your slip on. You can use extra slip here because this is not going to show. So I'm going to do that. I'm going to put more slip here. And then I'm going to make just a little bit. I'm going to set this carefully down. Put just a couple little coils. I'll show you after I put them on here. Maybe I'll put them here. I think, yeah, that's what I'll do. I'll put them here. A couple little coils here to give it extra clay to attach with. I was going to put the coils on the roof itself, but in thinking about it, I think it might be better just to put a couple here, because this clay will be nice and soft. It will smush down. Now I'm going to go ahead and sort of scratch this. More slip. And then gently, carefully put our roof on. Once you get it to where it looks pretty even, just going to twirl it around again because, okay, and then just kind of push against, making sure that it's secure. And that should be pretty secure. So to finish up, these are the basics, but I have a couple things I want to do to finish. First of all, the roof here, where these seams are, want to hide those. I don't want them to look like this. So I'm going to take some clay, make an extrusion to put along there. This is what I call a 3-parter. You can do a coil, or you can just leave it like it is if you like the look. I think it would look a little bit better with a little bit of a coil down here. So I'm going to do a little bit of scratching. And in this case, remember I mentioned previously about using vinegar or slip? In this case, I'm going to use a little bit of vinegar because the slip sometimes can get a little sloppy. So I'll use the same brush though. So I'm going to put vinegar down here. And then I'm going to take, not going to scratch, I could scratch the inside, but I'm not going to in this case. Then I just go up and compress it. So I'm going to do the same thing on the other 3 seams. Okay, I'm going to do a couple more things because I want something underneath of each of these eaves on the corner, but I want to show you what I'm going to do for the top. So I'm going to take a ball of clay. Okay, and I'm going to attach it. I'm going to scratch. Going to flatten this ball a little bit. I don't like it. Okay. And we'll see how this works. I want to put like a circle on top of it. Because I'm thinking, what if you want to hang this? Just a thought. I don't know. We'll see how this works. So I'm making a circle of clay, and then a circle inside of that. I gotta think about this. I did the same thing, but I just redid it because the little ball was lopsided and the circle part here was too thin. So I flattened the ball a little before I put it on. I'll show you a better angle when we're done, but I want to just finish up here. So where I think we need to finish up, these four corners, there's really nothing there. I'm just going to scratch just a little bit and put a little ball of clay on the end of each of these. So here I'm going to use my vinegar more than the slip. Just do two at a time here. And I'm not going to do anything but make a little ball of clay and stick it on. Like so. Just to put like a little bit of a finish on it. And actually I kind of like the look of it too. Again, just gently press, but make sure you have it scratched and with vinegar. So I'll do my last two sides here. I don't remember if I scratched those. I think I did, but sometimes I'll make the four balls at the same time to make sure that they're the same size. But in this case, I think we can eyeball it. Right, and one more. That's a little bit too big. Okay. Now, once we've put these on, we could sort of leave it as it is, but I do have one more thing I'd like to do. First, let me make sure these are all on at about the same angle, same size. So what I've done here is I've made these circles. It's just a flat piece of clay, and then I cut a circle out and then cut a circle out inside the circle. So I have these four pieces. And what I'm going to do with these, I just want to put something on these corners underneath. So I'm going to change the angle of the camera and then show you how we're going to finish up here. Okay, to finish up, we are going to take those little circles that I just showed you. I cut each one of them in half. I'm going to scratch the edges, and then I'm going to put them under each eave, like. So I'll do one and then I'll show you what it looks like. So I'm going to scratch where I'm going to place it. Going to seemed like a good idea. We'll see. Okay. Yeah, okay. All right, so that's what I did. So I'm going to do that for each of these outside edges. Okay, now I realize that I didn't show you some of this detail while I was doing it, but it's kind of because I was sort of making it up as I was going along, but also you want to do your own thing. You're not going to do one exactly like this. Yours is going to be a little bit different. You might decide to put some other shape down here. I mean, this is just one idea. It's just something that I had, thought of with the faces that I wanted to do. And then I thought that these round pieces would kind of go along with it. And this should be enough to, if you should want to hang the lantern when you're done, once this is glazed and fired, this will be strong enough to hold it. So here is the inside where the candle will go. Your shapes can be anything they want. You can do more cutouts than this, less. Things to remember, just to go over, are make sure that your bottom corners are well attached and that you have a piece of clay on the inside underneath of it, because that is where I've had a couple of the lanterns I've made separate. And everything else, trying to think if there's any other important things, but nothing besides the usual of being careful how you attach things. Hope you enjoyed this. Thanks for watching.